All right, here we are back, still at the Museum of the Shenandoah Valley. Again, I'm Justin Kearns. I'm with the Winchester Frederick Tourism Office, and you are?
Perry Matthews. I'm the Director of Gardens at the Museum of the Shenandoah Valley.
All right, so we have done a nice long walk through, actually a whole bunch of
We've
fascinating
done about
areas
half
here.
the garden.
Yeah, and here we are. We're continuing on.
So here we are. We're sort of actually, if you were a guest of the family that lived here previously, this is where you would have entered, the main gate here at 801 Amherst Street. You would have come up the driveway here and go up to the house. So this is actually how you would have seen the house.
Okay.
Of course, very noisy right now. We have
Right.
trucks, helicopters, everything going by.
And a goose to top it off.
And of course, we're standing on a bridge that crosses over Town Run, and if you look up at the far end, there's a stone wall up there. That's where the headwaters of Town Run starts. That's where Town Run begins, and
Okay.
it flows through the property and down
Right.
into Winchester.
Okay.
We also have another spring house here, and then of course across the street is the city spring house. So there's a lot of sources of water for here. This is why Glen Burnie was built here, because this is where the water was.
Okay.
So
And that used to be called Water Street. Yes, no?
that I'm not sure on. I'll let you.
I thought that's what that was.
Could be.
I'm pretty sure that used to be called Water Street. I could be wrong. Let me know if I was wrong.
I'm sure somebody will.
I'm sure so.
So this is one of the newer gardens. We've actually installed this garden. It's a long linear garden because the home and the formal gardens that you see when we walk around, most of the gardens were developed between 1960 and 1990. But this was really just a lawn area on the far side of the Town Run from the house. And but we wanted to bring attention to the fact that the headwaters were here, and because the gardens were really developed by Julian Glass, who did not live here year-round. The gardens are really designed as more of a summer retreat garden, so we didn't have a lot of early spring flowering plants. So this garden is the spring garden for both reasons. The spring that's at the end of the garden, plus the spring flowering plants that we have loaded up in here.
Gotcha.
So this is a garden that you want to be here during the springtime. And we've had to learn a little bit along the way because of the waterway. We're in the floodplain whenever we have heavy rains. Everything from the hospital over floods through here. So this whole garden could be underwater at different times of the year. So we've had to learn how to adjust how we plant and everything. But right now at this end of the garden, we have a lot of daffodils that are just past their prime right now, but you can see some of the hyacinths that are also been blooming in the spring. And by summertime, all this is just lawn. You don't even see any remnants of the daffodils, and we just mow. But then we have some nice flowering plants all along through here. On the little berm, you see a lot of the phlox. Of course, this is a good time of year for phlox. You're starting to see a little bit of, we have a nice resident goose who's going to greet you.
Wow. He's talkative. Is he year-round?
Year round.
Okay.
We used to have, Lee Taylor, who was here for a long time. He was very fond of geese, and he had quite a few geese. And basically, age and attrition we're down to the one.
Oh, you're the last one.
The last
Okay.
one. We've talked about getting some more, but at this point in time, we haven't done anything about it.
Okay.
So we have a lot of little grape hyacinths in here. Some Siberian squill over through here. But and then you can see a few. All this foliage is going to be Spanish bluebells that will come up in a little bit. But you have all the golden pacra, some hellebores in the back.
Oh, yeah.
You can see the May apples just starting to pop up. So this garden goes through phases right now. We're in a very bright one. We'll see a lot of blue in the next probably few weeks because we go through our blue phase. And then you'll start to see a variety of things. We do have some. Well, that's all dandelions. So we do have some green and gold in here as well. So we have a lot of peonies that are starting to come up and get ready to bloom. So in May, it'll be full of peonies. The quince is finishing blooming. The little blue flowers over here is a spring starflower. I'll roll you over here on one. This is a plant that's worth pointing out. Unfortunately, no one can smell it on this, but it is a beautiful little flower. This is a Korean spice viburnum, and it is incredibly fragrant. Now you can catch it in the wind, I think. Right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it is super fragrant.
Yes.
So it's always a good shrub to have in your garden if you want a lot of fragrances, particularly in the springtime.
What was it again?
Korean spice bush, I think is what it's called. It's a viburnum carlesii.
Okay. Do you have any necessarily rare plants?
We have
in the gardens?
we get some weird and unusual plants. Some of them I don't go out of my way to get. Like there are some plants that are incredibly expensive, but because we're a public garden, I want to be able to have people to enjoy plants and think of plants that they can actually find at home. Matter of fact, a lot of these plants we do often carry in our plant sale. Plant sale is normally in May. And we're looking hopefully this year and trying to put it online. We haven't really worked. We're working on all the logistics of trying to get it online so people could do a curbside pickup of plants. Hopefully
That would be
in May.
awesome. So keep an eye out on your Facebook page, I guess.
Yes. As soon as we work out all the logistics of making it work, we'll let everybody know. And here we are coming up to the sort of the upper end. This little pond. This is a pond that we dug when we put in this garden. And when we were digging this pond, we kept hitting springs. There is a dozen springs. There's 13 springs in here. So at one point we had 4 pumps running to pump water out so we could dig a hole to put water back in. And there's a
good sized
smallmouth bass there.
bass, yeah.
And then up here we have Amelanchier, or sarvisberry.
Oh, okay.
So always tends to bloom right around sort of that Easter time period for a lot of people. Look at all the fish go there.
Oh yeah.
We do get some algae bloom. We get a lot of nutrients because all the neighbors sort of, if there's a heavy fertilizer, all that runoff ends up in this area.
Ends up in here, right?
So,
we're all downstream from something, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The sculpture here is of Kathy Warner, who is the benefactor. She helped pay for most of the installation of this garden. So,
Oh, nice. Okay. Kathy Spring Garden.
yes. So Catherine's heading up. So all the irises will start blooming in a few weeks. So that'll be a nice another addition. And then we have red buds.
Of
We're
course.
a little bit past. Let's see. Everybody asks why is it called a red bud when it's sort of this pinkish mauvish color. But if you look down at the bottom, you can see where it's red. And when they're really close and tight on the branch, they are really red. So the buds are red. So it comes back to its name. It's not a red flower. It's red bud. So, and they're edible.
I was just going to say they are edible. Yes. I've actually made a home brew with red buds. They kind of take like peas, kind of like sweet peas.
Well, they're in the pea family, so it makes sense.
All right. I just learned something.
It is a legume, just like your peas are. So this is the headwaters.
Whoa.
And you can
Some
see
good-sized fish.
some good rainbow trout. This is all
Wow.
stocked. And
Make sure not to drop the camera here.
yes, that would be nice. The bubbly there is not because this is an artesian spring or anything like that. That's an aerator for the fish.
Oh, okay.
So, but headwater starts right here. We also have the drainage ditch, so it brings more water down. So everything from Whittier Avenue and over from the hospital flows by here. But the spring for Calhoun starts right here
Wow.
and flows out into the pond and downstream. So in the summertime, that creek bed over there can be dry.
Okay.
So we stocked fish in here. You can see a couple of, there's one that's really starting to flow
Oh, he's good
out
size,
into the
wow.
light. And we did put more in here because the eagle does come and sit in this tree and also swoops down and
That's a big.
takes one.
That's
So
a
the
big
smart
meal.
ones stay low.
More bluebells.
More bluebells and more the Solomon seal starting to pop up. This is it's interesting. Those the plantings over in the water garden are much more mature, so they pop up a little earlier. Bigger root systems part of it. So over here is our greenhouse. We can go in. We're going to go in and just
Okay.
and
Oh, good. And you have growth on the in front of us here.
yeah.
Good.
Now
Not open to
Hopefully
the
you
public, but you get to go in with us
we're
today.
going with this is behind the scenes look. This is where the magic happens. This is summer. This is this summer's display coming on. So when we were in the parterre a little while ago, talked about the fact that all those daffodils and tulips will get ripped out. A lot of these trays through here are going to end up in the parterre this summer. So this is all of Rebecca right here. Let's see what else we have. We also have some vegetables. So this is a salvia. So this is all, and it's labeled for Joel, who is our gardener. That means it's his for the parterre. So
Wow.
all this is going to be in the parterre. All that will be in the parterre. Probably some of the stuff over there as well. This looks like there's more vegetables and stuff, or maybe some of the stuff for pots. We'll go in the parterre. You can see some coleus. That'll be for pot displays. Let's see what this one is. Alyssum. So that will also be in the edge of the parterre. So we start everything from seed in here, usually in late February, early March, depending on the growing, how long it takes for things to get to mature size, because we target date mid-May. And then we start growing stuff. So I think she's just started all her tomatoes and peppers for the vegetable garden. We've done a lot of the early starts of kale and stuff. We also have worked with James Wood High School, and they did a lot of stuff for us before school was closed down. So we actually were able to recover the plants that they started and get them
Oh,
out,
cool.
planted out. So that was really nice.
All right.
So.
Do you have a lot of volunteers that help you out, or?
We have
well
some,
paid,
but we
or-
don't. We, of course, right now with us being closed, we cannot let the volunteers come in, so they're
Right.
really disappointed about it. But see, like this is a lot of the stuff that the high school kids started for us in the vegetable garden.
Oh, cool.
And,
Okay.
so we'll walk around.
Well, if they're watching, here's your hard work.
Actually, let's
right here.
walk this way. We'll go through the.
A lot of stuff growing.
So, stuff low. The Brunnera is that false forget-me-not, just like we saw in the water garden. And then getting ready to bloom, you can see all the little Carolina jasmine.
Oh, yeah.
So give us about a week, maybe two. This will be covered in yellow flowers.
I will have to come back in
So-
a week or two
And,
and at least just walk down
Yes.
through here.
so,
I'm so excited that there's growth back on here again. This was bare for a little while.
well, what it was is there originally were trees here, and so the original pleached alley of trees was all crab apples. The crab apples are a fast-growing tree, so they gave us that little tunnel of trees very quickly. But they also are short-lived, which means they only average about 50 years in the lifespan for an individual. There was 20 trees in this little alley, and they've been packed in really tightly. They had been grown together, interwoven in the branches, so it created this fabulous tunnel that everybody loved. But the only thing that they were supported by was T-post and rebar. And so that was a tetanus shot waiting to happen. And we had lost, I think, probably about 12 plus of the crab apples, so the alley was starting to fall apart just because of the age of the trees. So we decided to rip the Band-Aid off all at once and take down all the trees and take out all the T-posts, and then we commissioned the special frame to be put in. So it is put in, and it took a while. And then we, instead of getting the crab apples, which we knew would take many years to get to the size that everybody likes, we decided to go for a vine. So this is Carolina jasmine, and so it's a southeastern native. It's semi-evergreen, so in the winter this all bronzes out, but it's starting to green back up again. And in a couple of years, this will be a solid tunnel of vine,
Nice.
and you'll see a little bit out between the gaps on the sides, and then every spring it'll just
The
be
smell
covered
is
in
going to
milk.
be almost overwhelmingly
Well, what you're really
wonderful.
smelling is the viburnum over there.
Right, but the
So-
jasmine's going to be.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's Carolina jasmine, so it's not a strong.
Oh, it's not
fragrance.
as- okay.
Not the jasmine that you think of when they talk about jasmine fragrances and things like that. So it's a different.
Okay.
Carolina jessamine is what a lot of people also call.
Oh, okay. So it'll be just right. Okay.
So work in progress. The vegetable garden here. It's very early time of year, so we've gotten some of the kales and cabbages out.
I see your rose. Okay.
And they're getting ready to put in some peas over here. They just did some fencing today. And so this is a little early in the season for a lot of stuff. We had hoped to have a few more things out, but everything sort of changed its up. And as you can see, we kind of leave some things out at this time since we're closed. It's like everybody else is wearing sweatpants to work.
Right.
We're actually just sort of leaving our clutter everywhere now. So eventually we'll get, oh, I did want to see, let's go see if there's any asparagus starting to come up.
Strawberries?
These are strawberries that are flowering, and then mixed into it, you can see asparagus.
Hey, there's an asparagus hidden down in there.
So there's some more asparagus right here starting to come out.
Yep.
So we will harvest some of it, and then it'll grow up and be mature, and it'll get this feathery foliage over the top of the strawberries and give them a little bit of shade in the hot of the summer.
Very nice.
These are little tiny strawberries, so super sweet. Pink Pavilion. The structure is closed right now, obviously, but there's no point in us opening it up.
I've seen a lot of wedding pictures taken
A
here.
lot of wedding pictures taken in here. One of my favorite little spots back here, though, is this little tiny hidden garden.
I've never been back here.
And so we have a few things starting to pop out. We planted in a few little things. So you can see some Solomon seal starting to bloom over there. But there is a tiny little trillium just blooming right here. Another one popping up there and there. We just planted those in a few weeks ago, actually. We got some bare root natives. This is another little trillium called Trillium cuneatum, and it's going to be a sessile trillium. It'll have a brown flower. So those are just getting ready to pop. There's some ginger. I don't know if the ginger's got any flowers. No, it's a little too early for the flowers.
It's tucked in here. I didn't know this was here.
Yep. And then, of course, all the brick was laid around the roots of the cherry and the hackberry. Cleaning projects, don't pay attention. The family cemetery for the Wood family, Wood Glass family. So you can grave markers for Robert Wood, the man who built the house down there in the 1790s, and then children and grandchildren and various other people. They intermarried with the Glass family out in Frederick County, which is where Rose Hill is now, which is why Rose Hill is part of our property. And so, as we like to say, wood turned into glass. And so family members are buried here. This cemetery, if you look, you can see the wall. There is like a seam right down the middle
Yeah.
horizontally. The original wall was only at that bottom part, and then that was added above in the 1970s. So they enclosed it just a little bit more.
Right.
And I've been told, I don't know accuracy of some of these stories, but all these markers have been rearranged. So we don't know where
Okay.
actually all the graves are right this minute.
Okay.
But the fun one, come over here. This is a little marker, it's a little lamb. It's off to the side. It's not with the rest of the family because this is one of the farm dogs named Punky. So it was a marker for Punky.
There's Punky right there on the 1968.
Mm-hmm. And then we're rolled back around to where we started in the Grand Alley.
We're all the way back around.
So you can see from here, it's not quite as impressive as the other end, but you get a nice light this way. You really do see the colors.
It is beautiful. All right. Well, that was a grand tour. All right. Let's see if we might or might not be able to take a look over at the new trails. We might be able to do it real quickly and do a quick little look. Yeah. All right. So hopefully we'll see you right back very shortly.